Hi, I'm tuning in for my wife.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Beautiful day it is, too.
It is gorgeous. Yes, magnificent.
Okay. Get the volume down a bit here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Barry.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Ariana will be here in a minute.
You getting her set up?
I'm getting her set up. Just getting the volume down a bit. Okay, that should be fine. Okay, she'll be in a minute.
Thank you.
Welcome.
How are you, Barry?
Good. I don't think there's a whole lot to go over, and I have another meeting I have to jump out at
Okay.
At 11. So
You and me both.
if we can keep it to like 45 minutes, 45 minutes. I know we probably shouldn't be talking, but I did check with the Board of Education about the Osher site, so I do have a report on that. And I still have not really gotten in contact with any of the Henlopen Park people.
I did have a brief discussion with them.
Okay.
So
Good. Okay.
yeah, I think it'll be a quick
Good.
meeting. There's not really a whole lot to discuss. I think we're running out of space.
Yeah.
Space is.
Yeah. I hear you getting some nice weather.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
60s?
Yes. It's been really beautiful.
Great.
Yeah. There's no palm trees up here though, Bill.
Well, you know, I have to stay an
Inside.
extra week because I have to get my second COVID shot.
Yes. That's very unfortunate that you have
I know.
to stay.
I know. Oh well.
Probably as soon as you come back, the weather will turn here and it'll be cold and rainy again.
Yeah, of course. Well, I usually like to be back around the 15th of March because I love spring.
I know.
You know, the daffodils and the forsythia and all that stuff. So I like to be home for all that.
I agree. Hi, Richard.
Good morning. How are you all?
Good.
Fabulous.
What a day, huh?
Oh my goodness. Yes. They don't get better than this.
Well, we've had enough dry weather that I am hopeful my foundation guy is finally supposed to show up tomorrow after 3 months of rain and not being able to do anything. So I have my fingers crossed.
We'll cross ours for you as well.
Thank you.
Morning, everybody.
Hi, Ariane.
Good morning.
All we need is Rodney, right?
Yeah, Rodney and Andrew.
And Andrew.
Dave will not be able to be with us, and that's something he emailed me.
Okay.
He's got a conflict the second Wednesday of every month, so we'll have to discuss a mutual time to schedule.
Yeah, we can probably adjust it. Yeah. Sounds good.
I haven't heard from Rodney, so I'm assuming, he's got a lot going on.
Well, we probably should have gotten the email. Should we? Well, it's 9:59 according to mine.
He did not come in through the attendees, so we may have to give him a call. I don't see Andrew.
There he is.
There he
Just
is.
showed up.
There's Andrew, okay. Morning, Andrew.
Morning.
I'm going to mute myself and give Rodney a buzz.
Okay. Has everybody had their coffee? Everybody properly caffeinated?
Yes.
Cool. Did we miss anything exciting at the council meeting Monday?
Too exciting.
I haven't talked to Rodney, so I assume that he got the email and everything. But
I guess the thing that's relevant to this group is we did vote on it was only a one bid. I think they're called American Tennis Corporation. They're going to be the ones that are going to lay the surface down.
Okay.
But from what Charlie says, that's sort of their, obviously based on their name, their bread and butter, laying these kind of surfaces down. So
That cost, Andrew? You're talking about the canal?
it's roughly 140K.
And that's also putting the lines in and everything?
I'm not sure about that, but I think at least that's going to require some replacing of the fencing and the wind netting and that kind of thing for sure. And it's basketball court as well.
Oh, okay. I was just going to ask. Yeah, because that's a sizable area also.
Mhm.
Yep.
And they have to do some.
Rodney's going to be connecting in a moment, then we can start.
So Andrew, is that going to be done according to the proposal that was supposedly passed some time ago where they were going to?
I'm not really sure because I think, to your point, I think there's been, with regards to the alignment of the actual lines themselves. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm not certain if it includes that. That's really just to lay down the surface itself. I'm not sure about the orientation of the lines yet, whether that's been finalized. Because I think your group has had some difference of opinion on whether, again, which way it should go.
Well, we
Yeah,
made a decision. We made a decision based on safety and based on multiple use. So we oriented it for 4 pickleball courts, and that way, on one court you could have 2 pickleball games, and on the other court somebody could play tennis, and also the safety of the balls running into the tennis courts and stuff. And so that's why we chose the configuration of the lines that we did, based on safety and more multiple use of the courts. Or
Are they
mixed
going to
use.
have screening among the courts, between the courts, to keep the
I don't
balls?
believe it calls for that. The other thing that's noteworthy is that I don't think they can really do it until late May, June. I think they said they need to be in upward, like around 80 degrees to do it, lay this stuff down effectively.
Yeah. Do you know, Barry, what they finally agreed on, Andrew or Barry, or as far as on either side of the net on both tennis courts are going to have a pickleball court in the same?
So on one court, I think basically it would be 4 pickleball courts laid out on 2 courts, but you would be able to play 2 pickleball games on 1 tennis court. So it would go, the pickleball court would run the same way as the tennis court went. And so
Gotcha.
the tennis net would serve as a net to catch balls, as well as the fence on either side.
Correct. Okay.
And then
I got it.
the same on the other. If you run it the other way, if you got somebody playing tennis on the other court, the loose balls go on the tennis courts. So.
Exactly.
With-
Exactly. Unless you would have a center
Right.
fence. Yeah.
Right. So with the with doing 4 courts, it's safer, and you can have both pickleball and tennis at the same
Right.
time.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's why we.
Just for fun, I was looking at Google Earth to see with the dimensions on whether, and because you could, if you dedicated one side to only pickleball, you could put 4 pickleball courts perpendicular to the tennis court, and then put a divider fence and have the other just be totally tennis with no pickleball lines or anything. I think it would fit. It would be a little bit tight, but it was just something I did for fun.
That's an idea. I think we're better off building dedicated pickleball courts, and then we don't have to do all this adaptation, and of course that's not going to happen the next 4 or 5 months, but something we can look forward to. Anyway,
Here's Rodney.
here we go.
Apologize.
Hey,
Hi, Rodney.
Hi.
Morning.
Yeah, Barry, Dave won't be with us, so you can get started.
okay. Do we have to approve the minutes from the past? I see that on the agenda.
Yeah, do you want to call us to order first?
Yes. Call the pickleball facilities meeting to order. And it's 10:06. Now, do we need to approve all 3 of these minutes? I think that's what we said last time that we were going to do.
Correct. We deferred because we had a few members missing and wanted everybody to have the opportunity.
Right. Has everybody had a chance to look at those minutes? I didn't see any.
Yes, I did.
Of course, some of the meetings were so long ago, I can't quite remember what went on, but. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the 3 minutes that are posted on the agenda?
I move to approve the minutes for December, January, and February.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. So the first agenda item is the Osher site. I did check with the Board of Education, and they plan to use that in the configuration of the new school. So that land is really spoken for. And the facilities director at Cape District also said that there were no plans in to build any kind of courts on that at that site. He did check the plans because once the one school is done, then the other school will be Shields will be renovated, and the plans plan to use that entire space because they're doing a track and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I was out there yesterday, and they have some flags and whatever planted around the whole area. So I figured something was going on.
Yeah, so that's kind of like a
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the update on that.
Thank you.
I mean, the only thing we could, we should inquire about probably is, are there any future plans for new, say, elementary schools or middle schools that could possibly include courts?
Because there's a lot of land behind the school that's being renovated. It's all I can't figure out what it's all going to be. There is I guess a football field there or something. There's a lot.
I'm frankly surprised that they said there wasn't room for courts and that they're going to use all that. They said they're putting a track in, and the track is actually going to be smaller than it really should be. So I don't know what they're going to do with the OSHA building, whether they're going to knock it down or what. He wasn't specific about that, but it sounds like
there is a basketball court there now. But so you're saying they're going to build a building or continue athletic fields?
I understood it. He said that was going to be part of the track.
Oh, okay.
So, but I don't know whether that building is going to be knocked down or what. But I assume that's what they were indicating, if they were going to put track and athletic fields back there.
You can see the site plans on the city's development site. There's for all the projects that are either in the queue or in development, those plans are available on through our city's planning site.
Oh, okay. Well,
so if you after this call, if you want to go on there and kind of have a render it, you see the rendering.
all right.
And that gets us to the next one, which is the site plan for the Seagreen is formerly known as White's Pond Meadow, currently known as Old Town at White's Pond, which Rodney and Barry, I believe you've had the pleasure of reviewing on behalf of the Parks and Rec for buffers, street trees and the like recently. And I think Rodney may have actually asked the question around whether one of the open spaces could accommodate some type of courts, if I'm not mistaken, right? And I think the answer was no. If I'm misremembering, let me know.
I don't recall asking them specifically about pickleball court facilities. I was trying to figure out from their site plan what they were doing with all that land that was available.
The open space, or
one was a dry pond. They had a couple of wastewater areas in there, retention. I think one was wet, one was dry. Once again, it's in there, but I think the issues with those are around. They came before us Monday looking for rights of way, so they're about a month away from their final submission. So I don't foresee them
making any changes.
Changing that, yeah, exactly. You could probably buy 4 lots in there. That might cost you a couple mil, but
no, we probably should have, like 5 years ago, got the whole development to donate a couple acres so that we could. But that's hindsight's always 20/20. But anyway. Okay, so that sounds like that's a done deal too. And the next thing is the update on Henlopen State Park. I have not talked with anybody. I sent an email to the Jace Madden, but I haven't heard back from her. And Janet, you said that you had a bit of an update on that.
I did talk with Pat Cooper to get some perspective. And he has indicated that there's no plan for doing anything with those courts. They have no plans to refurbish. He had indicated that Legislative Hall had worked with First State Pickleball on locations, as did the park. They had consideration of the some land in the park that's out off of the Junction Breakwater Trail, kind of towards where the treatment plant is.
Oh, yeah.
But that was declined. And then the site out at Cool Spring, that was declined as well, and he wasn't sure why. But specific to the courts there that we discussed at the last meeting, the state parks have no plans to do anything with that at this point. So while it seemed like a good and feasible location, they're not looking to do anything with that now.
And
Yeah, that's a
Does that mean
shame
they
because
wouldn't entertain doing something?
I'm sorry, pardon, Richard?
would that, yeah, that's like, would they entertain doing something? I rode up there and did some, pace off measurements. The asphalt is actually in fairly good condition. It would probably need a 1-inch top coat.
Right.
It's very boggy towards the back, but there is plenty of room for 8 courts. And even if you wanted to avoid the wetter part in the back, 6 courts. And of course, out there, the parking is all, they do it on the grass. So you don't, there's ample field area, like when they have soccer games and stuff out there, they just park cars on the grass. So it would be a relatively inexpensive site to develop. And the bathrooms that they just built right across the way within walking distance for the basketball area are, they have a permanent one now, and they still have some portable ones there. So it's, I realize there's issues with when the park is open and if they close it, and everybody would need a season pass, but I think we could overcome that. It's, I think the key is, would they consider, a proposal to do that?
Yeah, I don't know if they are considering proposals at this point.
And who would we?
And who would
where
do
would?
it? Yeah,
We have to talk
Yeah.
to Joyce. I don't know what the structure of it is, superintendent, or whether we should go above that and say, hey, this is what we're thinking about, and maybe there's some funds, state funds that could be a joint project or something. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking.
Mr. Spellman, Doug Spellman just made that point in the chat, just, not to pass the buck from the councils, but he's suggesting Ernie and Steve, could be influential in this process.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense.
And I would, to an extent, I would say the same from, Mr. Schaefer and other, county council members, in the sense that, as you've pointed out before, Barry, the Sussex County doesn't really have any organized parks and rec resource. And so de facto, the municipalities end up shouldering that load.
And the developers attempt, but then they're not available to anybody else, which.
Exactly.
Well, it sounds like that's
the other one I would put to bed. The rumors of the death of the Lewis Auto Gallery were greatly exaggerated. They have a full inventory in there now. So that spot that I suggested on the leaving Lewis there, that is still in operation. So good.
Oh, we got cars there now?
They do indeed. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Revive.
And someone had mentioned about the marina, the boat ramp up there. I went up there. I just don't see where, even in the back of the parking lot area, I mean, there's enough room where you could probably put 2 or 3 courts, but it's really, and I don't have a good feel on how full that parking lot gets on a holiday weekend, say in the summer when everybody's got their boats launching and things like that. But that seems very tight and very, very wet back there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The other thing I just wanted to raise, again, this is probably something that's been discussed in previous iterations of this committee or Parks and Rec, but looking at I think the schedule seems to be working, at least on a temporary basis. And if we look to stripe the basketball courts for pickleball and maybe only for certain times, like, because I play basketball over there, but I'm not doing it at, say, 8 o'clock in the morning. So maybe it could make sense that you have a specific window where you could get some multi-use out of the basketball courts for a certain period of the day, with the understanding that, the other periods people could use it for
Yeah.
basketball or kicking around a soccer ball or whatever the case may be. But at least in the morning, I mean, maybe you all could provide that insight, which is, what window would that need to be for the greatest amount of activity for pickleball? What are those windows that might need to be looked at to say, hey, maybe that makes sense? Because my understanding is you do have portable nets that you could use to do that.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct. And that would be very inexpensive, and the window would be, from 8 until 10 or 9 to 11, something like that. Because I mean, just to give you an idea, we've been playing. It's been a pretty mild winter, and during the week, we're getting an average of anywhere from 8 to 18 players almost every day. Like a day like today, I think there was only 6 people that were going to go out there, but we had 14 people the other day. We had 16 the day before that. So, but it's usually in the morning, primarily in the morning. And the basketball guys usually play in the afternoon or evening.
And that's
And to that point, I was making, like, my son, kids and I like to play a game called futsal, which is basically a form of court soccer. So and it's my impression too, I get it that tennis players, they don't like having multiple lines on the court. I get that. Basketball players, my sense is that they don't have an issue with that. If you go into a gym, there's volleyball lines, there's college lines versus high school lines. So my sense is if you lay down some perpendicular lines that could be used occasionally for pickleball, you may not be just upsetting the basketball cart, in my mind. And you'd also maybe provide 2 parallel courts to play things such as, like I said, futsal or other games that folks might want to play in that court.
I would agree with that 100%. And again, very inexpensive and easy to do.
Do you see this as a permanent solution or as temporary one?
I mean, the lines are there. It's going to be as permanent as those lines stay. But I mean, again, with the schedule, let's see. You could see it. How efficiently is it working? Let's see it if it fills the gap at least. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just putting it out there.
In my mind, I see it as a temporary thing. I'm always sensitive to taking over recreation space for kids. That's all. That, you don't want, but, at least through June, kids are supposed to be in school. And in general, I don't think you see kids playing basketball from 9 to 11 in the morning.
Yeah, that's sort of my point. The basketball courts do get used generally in the evening. I see, like late after, like as you said, after work or after school. Is generally they do get used, but that's generally when I see the most activity there.
Agreed. Well,
the other part of it is, I think the pickleball community is looking for dedicated courts eventually, aren't they?
Yes, it would definitely be an auxiliary or a temporary solution. But yes,
maybe that's an excellent temporary solution. While we try and get some dedicated courts somewhere. And in that regard, we haven't done a master plan for the Great Marsh Park, but I have to say, if we're going to Cape Henlopen and places like that, the state might turn around and say, well, wait a minute, guys, you've got all the land on the other side of the town. Why don't you make use of that and do something with it? The only thing there now is a dog park. Can you find and a community garden? Could you find a space over there where you could meet your needs? And then it's really it's a city. It's a city. I mean, the state owns it, but the city has a long-term lease. Is that correct, Janet?
Yes, it has a 20-year lease with the option for another 20-year renewal if the city meets the requirements. And one of those requirements is the development of a master plan.
Right.
So I've said before that, from the perspective of the city, concern would be doing more in the park without having the master plan. And steps have been made, but there's a long way to go in the development of that master plan. And
That's on Rodney and me.
What?
Well,
Well-
Rodney and myself are the ones that are sort of working on that.
Right.
That's what
Right.
I'm getting at. But my thought is if it did look like it was an appropriate place for a dedicated pickleball facility, it's going to take time to raise money and do the design work and all of those things. I would think that would at least be a year, at least,
Oh,
if or several years. And because I don't know the pickleball community. I mean, the dog park folks raised the money fairly quickly once they got the green light, as I recall. But so I don't know how long it would take to raise enough funds to get the work out there. But in that period, I would think we ought to be able to come up with a master plan for the rest of it. And that would certainly get you over the state's requirement to continue the long-term lease. Now, of course, that's public parkland, and so you've got to go through the whole process of which you always should of having community input. I imagine there will be people who will be against doing anything of any kind of a active recreation out there. I would think that would be the greatest obstacle from the public.
They're out
The city did do, in, I think it was 2017, they did do a survey of the citizens in the city, and predominantly the request was for passive recreation in Great Marsh Park.
Right.
And I think one of the other considerations is, lighting of the pickleball courts, those types of things, and the other types of environmental impacts that doing the pickleball courts there would have, as they do anywhere, as they would
Yeah.
anywhere in the city. But, the lighting and the parking, all of that would have to be considered, and the impact on the park.
and the environment.
And yeah,
I mean, because light pollution is, I mean, I know from being in Florida, they have a whole thing about turtles, and they turn the streets lights off in some of the towns because of light pollution. It affects egg hatching or whatever, but.
That's
So-
true, but there are, in my professional experience, if you get the right lighting that's focused downward with extreme cutoff and forward thrust, you can really control the spillage,
That's good to
and you
know.
don't get the glow, and the light goes where it needs to be, but you don't really notice it and see it anywhere. So we've gotten a lot better in terms of our technology to minimize the impact of lighting things up at night.
I agree. I play a lot of platform tennis, and they've come a long way with the LED lighting and the shielding and making sure the light comes right down on the court. It's
Right.
very precise now.
Right. And efficient.
Mhm. Well, the only other space that we haven't really pursued is any excess land or at the University of Delaware. And I don't think anybody's talked to anybody at UD. And that's right in the same area.
because there's a corner on Park when it meets Pilot Town, because I walk up that way.
Yeah.
It's near the canal, so I'm not sure if it can be very windy up there. That's one problem, but it's a big open space. So is that University of Delaware? I mean, there are open spaces around the university,
Yeah.
something tucked behind it also.
And also up towards the cemetery across from the monument. There's a lot of space there too.
So is that University of Delaware or?
Yeah, all the way down to the canal. From what I understand, that's University of Delaware. And I mean, I don't know whether,
Who has jurisdiction over?
well, somebody would have to, I guess, have a conversation with somebody that would be in charge of that, wouldn't they? Andrew?
Yeah, so the city's going through that currently, trying to help out MER. The University of Delaware has the leases through the city, but because they control the leases, you have to essentially negotiate through the University of Delaware for those things on their property. It's not like the city can kind of take back their
No,
lease
no, no, no.
for its own
Yeah,
purpose.
I understand that, but that might be a conversation we should have with somebody that, you know, I don't know who that would be. I mean, that to me, other than private land, that seems like the only other space that would be available.
And
Janet,
it might be worth touching base with the mayor with regards to where we are on Murr, because it's probably going to be a similar issue, because the gentleman who's come back on that is responsible for their lease holding, like their real estate, essentially. The University of Delaware has a point person for any of their holdings. He's not the provost, but basically he is.
Like a facilities coordinator, kind of whatever.
Any assets, essentially. He's yeah.
Janet, I think before you joined the city, I think the city was looking to make improvements to the monument, the DeVries Monument Park. And one of the things they're doing was the thought of adding parking there. I believe it was 10 parking spaces. And
Okay.
I think there was communication between the city and the university to see if the university couldn't give up some land. That one of the areas was the fenced in area where there is boat storage down there along the canal. They were talking about pulling the fence back and putting some parking there. The other conversation they had was going across the street on the cemetery side next to the cemetery and putting perhaps some parking there. There were issues with sight lines with DelDOT, as I recall, and I'm not sure where the university came down on those kinds of things. I think it kind of got stalled somehow, but I recall that the mayor was involved in that. I know he attended a workshop.
Okay, I'll follow up and I'll look into that for the next meeting.
That'd be great. To me, that's the only other option that I know about, unless any of you guys know of any other than private land.
I think that's largely like what's there, private, even with as we talked about White's Pond Meadow, or the old town at White's Pond, I guess now.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, Janet had mentioned there's a small strip of land over there by the American Legion, but I don't even know that that's feasible with the permeable surfaces, et cetera. So I assume this is impervious surface.
That floods a lot over there, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's what, Barry?
It floods a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, big storms, there's like, sometimes the road back to the sewage plant is kind of underwater. So you'd probably have to bring a lot of fill in or something.
Well,
like
and the old railroad bridge too, Andrew, correct, is going back there eventually?
That's where that's going, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. There's more there, but it's very narrow and it's subject to, as Barry said, subject to flooding. So it's one thing to have a bridge that's up off the ground. If you're talking about a court, I'd imagine you'd have issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come underneath there.
Well, is there any other issues that we ought to address? And we don't need to continue this meeting if we don't have any other issues.
I mean, if we don't have a site, it kind of limits other discussions, right? Of funding and whatnot. So I think that the biggest charge for the committee is a location. And without that, we can't really move forward on anything else. So I will talk to the mayor and city manager about that monument space and see if there's anything that will come of that.
The other thing, if I could suggest, since we discussed the additional striping of the basketball court. If we think that that's a reasonable short-term
Mhm.
approach, then I suggest that maybe we vote on it and then take it to the Parks and Recreation Commission as a
Mhm.
recommendation from this committee. Because I think it ought to go to them. We don't,
Yeah.
they're going to want to
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yes.
So I'm going to make the motion that we consider striping the basketball court to include paddleball.
Pickleball?
Second.
Pickleball.
Pickleball?
I mean pickleball. Thank you.
It's all right. We'll let you off the hook. Notice the shirt? That's a pickleball court.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Then let's, Janet, we could put that on the agenda.
I can add that to the agenda for Monday night. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I'll do that this afternoon.
May I ask one question? In the future, as more permanent, maybe I misunderstood, is there a way to find out from the school district if there is land? There's so much space behind this new school, the school they're building, and plus the Osher area. Is there any way to find out if there's room for pickleball courts for the public to use? Maybe the kids would be interested in pickleball.
Well, I mean, I could ask the facilities guy.
Is it centrally located? There's parking that's centrally located. There are bathrooms.
Right.
I mean, it's public land. I mean,
Yeah.
public school districts. So other states have allowed the public to play on tennis courts. I know they don't allow it here, but if they could dedicate pickleball courts, I mean, a lot of young kids take it up really easily.
Sure.
Besides seniors.
No, I definitely think that we could find out what their future plans for new schools are, and would they consider,
It seems one of our only options that wouldn't cost any money for the land. The lands are,
and it's public land anyway.
yeah. So
Yeah, they just did it with an elementary school down in Rehoboth. There's
They did.
two. Yeah. So
did
They did.
do they have pickleball courts?
Yes.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yeah.
well, then that's a nice, yeah, well,
Yeah, there is a precedent for it.
that's
Definitely.
weird. Thank you. Oh, and that's good. Okay. Well, then there's a precedent. That's great. I didn't realize that. So thank you, Richard.
Well, who is the person to approach then in the school district? Is it the facilities manager?
Yeah, I don't have his name handy, but
Brian Bassett. But I think the thing that you're going to find there is with any developer, there's a balance, right, between lot coverage and open space and these things. And you're talking, especially in a school where you have to have an area where teachers can park and buses can kind of circle up to pick up the children. Then you get into, again, surface coverage.
mhm.
So where are they going to balance that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like they've done it at some other schools. So, I mean, it's certainly,
Is it the same school district?
Cape
Cape.
Henlopen.
yeah, Cape. Yeah. So,
Well, it seems like it's worth pursuing with the right person. I mean, the right person in the school district. It makes sense. It just seems fair that everybody can use it if it's public land. I don't know.
since I already had a conversation with him, I can follow up on that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Richard, since you're closely aligned with pickleball community and you've got it on your shirt, do you know who down in Rehoboth approached the school district about this?
I will find out. I don't know offhand, but I will find out.
Yeah, find out what was involved in all of that.
So Pat Breen puts in the comment, schools wouldn't let you play from 8 to 4:30. And that's what the sign says at Rehoboth Elementary.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
But I will get some names on that, yes.
Okay. So ideally, a separate facility is better because of the conflict with school and everything.
Then yeah, the whole summer's open though, I assume.
Right.
School's out of session and holidays and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a drawback too there, obviously.
Okay. Any other issues to bring before the group? I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll follow up on the things that we agreed to follow up on for our next
Mary,
meeting.
one more before we adjourn. Dave Beck has not been able to join us because he's got a conflict on the second
Oh.
Wednesdays of the month. So I think he has valued ideas and opinions as well. So I'd like him
Yeah,
to
he's
stay
a
on
player.
the committee.
Do we want to do like the 3rd or the 1st, or?
Is it when there's Wednesday the 14th? You want to stick with Wednesdays?
I think that works for everybody. Richard, was it you that had a conflict on Fridays?
Well, actually, that was before I was retired. Now every day
Oh.
Saturday.
Thank you from all of our working folks here.
Does that mean you mow the grass and clean out the garage every day?
No, please.
No,
Do we want to try the 3rd Wednesday?
Yes, yes. So what date are we looking at then?
I'm trying to get onto the city calendar without losing everybody.
The 3rd would be the 21st.
That would be the 21st of April.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay,
Anybody have a
Works
problem
with
with
me.
that's fine for me too.
that? All right, let's do the 21st. Does that work, Janet?
Yep, I don't see anything on the calendar, so I will put this on the calendar today to hold our spot, and so the 21st at 10 o'clock.
Good.
The 21st of April.
Yes.
And
Okay.
the next time we meet, I'll be back in town.
you're still not back in town?
Well, I had to stay a little bit longer because I have to get my second COVID shot.
Okay. Okay.
Well, why would I come back with all the rain and coldness I've heard about when it's 75 and 85 degrees down here?
Yeah, okay.
I can ride my bike every day.
Yeah, are we saying the 14th? Is that what?
21st.
21st, okay.
At 10 o'clock.
21st is Administrative Professionals Day.
Oh, good.
Didn't that used to be Secretary's Day?
That's sexist.
That's a long time ago. Yes.
Right. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. Second. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
We're adjourned.
Good. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks everybody for participating. We've made a little bit of progress. So I'm happy about that, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks all.
thank you.
See you, everybody.